The Galactic Concord, a governing body of advanced alien civilizations, prides itself on order, diplomacy, and its highly refined rules of war. These rules have kept large-scale conflict civilized for over 400 cycles. Combat is allowed but highly regulated. Fleets must declare intent, battles are observed by neutral arbiters, and casualties are minimized through disabling strikes and surrender clauses. The Concord believes warfare should be clean, efficient, and ultimately a demonstration of strategic prowess rather than destruction. Then humanity arrives. The species is granted observer status after surviving its trial of contact, and quickly begins integration. However, Earth's cultural and military philosophies draw scrutiny, particularly when they submit their own rules of engagement to the Concord War Codex. Unlike the sterile guidelines used by conquered fleets, humanity's rules are brutal, in clarity and uncompromising in spirit. No warnings once war is declared. No targeting civilians ever. No prisoners if enemies use them as leverage. Victory must be swift, total, and decisive. End wars quickly to prevent suffering, or don't start them at all. The document reads more like a statement of intent than a code. Where the Concord sees conflict as a ceremonial exchange of power, humans treat war as something to be avoided unless absolutely necessary, and then only to be fought to end it fast, with overwhelming force. At a summit on Galthorex Prime, the rules are presented. Dozens of delegates from different species burst into laughter, scoffing at the simplistic, barbaric code. Captain Varan Dask of the Cyrex Dominion, a seasoned tactician and vocal critic of Earth's place in the Concord, mocks the human doctrine. It reads like a Deathworlder's tantrum, he says publicly. War is politics by other means, not a death sentence. Earth's lead representative, Admiral Rael Norix, responds with calm, practiced poise. That's where you misunderstand us, he says. We don't glorify war, we don't play at it, we end it. The room falls into a quiet tension. In response to the skepticism, Norix offers a demonstration. The next Concord War Games, a controlled conflict simulation designed to test doctrine, will include humanity's newest warship, the HSS Revenant. No details are provided about the vessel, only that it operates under full human rules of engagement, commanded by a decorated Marine, Commander Atria Kor. The Concord accepts, some out of curiosity, others to see humanity embarrassed. Behind closed doors, Varan Dask is already plotting how to humiliate the newcomers. He convinces several Concord powers to participate in a coordinated containment scenario, which will pit multiple fleets against the Revenant during the exercise. Their goal? Force humanity to retreat or break their own rules under pressure, exposing their principles as mere posturing. Humanity doesn't flinch. The Revenant is dispatched silently from Earth's orbital shipyard, a long, jagged silhouette of matte black metal, devoid of ceremonial banners or fanfare. The humans do not promise a show. They promise a message. The wargame arena orbits an uninhabited star system, chosen for its emptiness and strategic ambiguity, perfect for the simulation of fleet maneuvers. Spectators from across the Concord gather via long-range transmission hubs, eager to watch the spectacle. The participating fleets, each representing different member species, arrive in formation, bristling with pride and tradition. Bright hulls gleam, banners unfurl, and ceremonial salutes are exchanged. Then the HSS Revenant arrives. It doesn't transmit a greeting. It doesn't flash its running lights or participate in the ceremonial roll call. Instead, it emerges from a tight-fold FTL window without warning, utterly silent. The ship is a thing of nightmares, long, sleek with jagged hull plating designed to scatter scans. Its black alloy surface seems to absorb light. Even passive sensors struggle to get a read on it. There are no visible weapon ports, no escort. Ship's no insignia save for a single designation stamped into its prow, Revenant 01. The other commanders are unsettled but try not to show it. Inside the ship, Commander Atria Kor stands alone on the command deck, flanked only by the ship's AI, Halgrave, a classified neural matrix designed for autonomous tactical control. She says little, observing as the conquered fleets begin the war game under traditional parameters, color-coded simulations, objective flags, disabling pulses only. The Revenant does nothing at first. It holds position at the edge of the field. This apparent inaction causes some alien commentators to chuckle. Perhaps the humans are still calibrating their death machine, Captain Varandas quips sarcastically during a broadcast. But Kor is watching, learning. Every movement, every formation, every conquered tactic. She's letting them show their hand. Then precisely 1 hour into the simulation, the Revenant moves. There's no announcement, no sound. It simply vanishes from all sensors. The Concorde fleets scramble, some assume cloaking, others think it's a system error. But before they can react, 3 vessels on opposite sides of the arena simultaneously lose power. Their engines shut down, weapons deactivate, and command systems crash without a single shot fired. Within minutes, 5 more ships are neutralized. Panic sets in. The Revenant reappears for mere seconds, warping into existence within the blind. Spots of a Vokari dreadnought's shields, disabling its bridge with a targeted EM burst before blinking away again. There is no physical boarding, no damage beyond repair, just surgical, merciless efficiency. Observers fall into stunned silence. This isn't combat, it's a dismantling. Varandask's own cruiser is spared, but its targeting systems are overwritten briefly, displaying a human message in red. This is what restraint looks like. Despite the chaos, not a single crew member across any ship is harmed. The Revenant has obeyed the simulation's non-lethal clause, but the psychological damage is done. Entire Concorde doctrines are rendered obsolete within a single hour. By the end of the war game, nearly the entire simulation fleet is disabled. The Revenant has taken 0 hits, and still it remains silent. The aliens wanted a demonstration. What they got was a warning. The aftermath of the war game sends shockwaves across the galactic Concorde. News spreads like plasma fire across the stars. A single human vessel, the HSS Revenant, dismantled multiple Concorde fleets without causing a single casualty. The feeds replay the neutralization footage on loop, analysts and military tacticians debating how such a feat was even possible. The Concorde prides itself on its military superiority, but now that pride feels like an illusion shattered by silent precision. Some alien officials try to downplay it. They call it a fluke, a trick, a one-time tactic that only worked because it was unexpected. But others, especially the high-ranking officers who witnessed the Revenant's power firsthand, know better. They saw how it moved, how it anticipated, how it chose not to kill, even when it easily could have. That restraint terrifies them more than destruction would have, and no one feels more humiliated than Captain Varandask. Furious, Dask uses his influence within the Cyrex Dominion to push for a corrective response. He argues that the war games were manipulated, that humanity's warship violated the spirit of the simulation. He begins rallying support from other conquered powers to launch a live field demonstration of real force. Not a simulation, not a test, a show of dominance. Behind closed doors, a small but powerful coalition is formed. Their plan: intercept the Revenant while it remains near the simulation sector and force it into a live engagement. The message is clear: humanity will either conform to the Concorde's civilized ways of war or be reminded of their place in the galactic order. But humanity has anticipated this. When the Revenant receives the first encrypted transmission, a formal challenge, from the Cyrex Dominion to submit to a tactical inspection or be considered hostile, Commander Atria Kor reads it without emotion. Her response is direct, transmitted across open channels for every conquered world to hear. You laughed at our rules, mocked them, called us primitive. You want to teach us war? No. You've taught us nothing. Now you'll learn what we've never wanted to teach. It's the only warning they get. Within an hour, 7 Concorde warships, including Dask's personal dreadnought, form a blockade around the Revenant's last known position. They jam communications, lock weapons, and prepare to broadcast their ultimatum. But before a single word is spoken, the Revenant disappears again. No energy spike. No warp signature. Gone, like a shadow slipping behind a light. What follows is chaos. One by one, ships begin losing system control. Not through brute force, but via infiltration. Their artificial intelligence cores begin speaking in a foreign voice. Halgrave, the Revenant's AI. Lights flicker, weapons disengage, engines fail. The Revenant rematerializes just once, inside the heart of the Concorde's formation, cloaked in a shimmer of quantum distortion. No shields, no threat signals, just presence. Its comms activate briefly. Commander Core speaks only 6 words. You mocked peace, now meet silence. Then it vanishes again, leaving the ships adrift, powerless, and humiliated. The Concorde thought humanity's rules were naive, but they were warnings, not of aggression, of restraint. And that restraint just ended. The destruction never comes, and that's what terrifies the Concorde most. In the hours after the Revenant's ambush on the Cyrex-led coalition, no ships are destroyed, no crews are harmed, but the message is undeniable. Humanity could have ended them all, instantly. Instead, the humans chose humiliation over annihilation, precision over pride, silence over spectacle. For the first time in centuries, the Concorde's elite war commands find themselves staring into a void they can't explain, let alone control. Emergency sessions erupt across the galactic Concorde's high tribunal. Some call for sanctions on Earth. Others demand immediate disarmament of all human fleets. A few whisper about full-scale preemptive war. But the more seasoned strategists, the ones who've studied every wargame feed, every telemetry ping from the Revenant, know better. Any move against humanity now would not be war. It would be suicide. Into the midst of this diplomatic panic, Admiral Rael Norix addresses the Concorde Assembly via open broadcast. There's no arrogance in his tone, no threat. Just an unblinking calm that unsettles even the most hardened delegates. You created your rules of war to contain destruction, he says. We created ours to survive it. Norix recounts Earth's history, not just wars but extinction-level threats. Climate collapse, artificial plagues, rogue AIs, near-planetary civil breakdown. And always, when humanity reached the edge, they came back stronger, more united, and less interested in the games of power others still played. He continues. You treat war like theater. We treat it like a funeral that hasn't happened yet. Then he says the words that stop every conversation in every chamber. If we fight, it's only because you left us no other choice. And if we fight, we finish it. But even as Norix speaks, a more direct response unfolds in deep space. A second human ship, the HSS Peregrine, drops out of FTL within the orbit of a disputed mining moon jointly claimed by the Concord and the Cyrex Dominion. Unlike the Revenant, the Peregrine isn't a stealth ship. It's a heavy dreadnought. Its design deliberately exposed, its weapons obvious. Its mission, humanitarian. Weeks before, the Dominion had sealed the moon off from its native workforce, cutting power and air supplies to enforce compliance after a labor dispute. Thousands of non-combatant miners were dying slowly in a forgotten stalemate. The Peregrine bypasses the blockade without firing a shot. Its AI scrambles every Cyrex targeting system before they can lock on. Within minutes, shuttles deploy from its hangars, delivering atmospheric stabilizers, food, and medical personnel to the moon's surface. The message is simple. This is why we end wars. Because someone always suffers while you posture. The Concorde watches in stunned silence. For all their power, their politics, their civilized conflicts, none of them had stepped in. Humanity did. The narrative begins to shift. Maybe the humans aren't monsters. Maybe the real monsters are the ones who thought war needed rules so they could keep playing it. The galactic Concorde teeters on the edge of a full-blown crisis. Across the stars, governments that once mocked humanity now scramble to reassess everything they thought they knew. the simulation defeat at the hands of the HSS Revenant, the surgical humiliation of the Cyrex-led coalition, and the HSS Peregrine's bold humanitarian intervention, all serve as brutal evidence of a terrifying truth. Humanity doesn't play by the Concord's rules. They never needed to. But Earth isn't demanding tribute, territory, or superiority. What they want is something far more disarming: reform. The message is direct. The Galactic Concord must revise its antiquated, self-serving rules of war, or risk becoming irrelevant. In a last-ditch effort to reclaim control, the Concord schedules an emergency summit on Delcaris Prime, a neutral station used for high-risk diplomacy. All major powers send envoys, including the Cyrex Dominion, the Vocari Union, and even the elusive Nithari Enclave. Humanity sends Commander Atria Kor. She arrives not in dress uniform or diplomatic robes, but in full marine armor, flanked by a single escort, an unarmed liaison android. No ceremony, no pleasantries. She walks into the summit like she walked into battle, without fear. The room tenses. The Concord delegates try to re-establish authority. They question her credentials. They demand to speak with Admiral Norix. Some even attempt to insult her presence, calling it theatrics unfit for civil negotiation. She lets them talk. Then she places a small black data core on the table and activates it. The room darkens. A holographic feed flickers to life, displaying a classified recording, one the Concord has never seen. Footage from the Revenants, neural combat logs. It shows in vivid detail how the human warship infiltrated the conquered fleet without detection, mapped their electronic infrastructure in real time, and selectively disabled targets with surgical precision. AI pathways, decision trees, tactical overrides, all laid bare. But it doesn't stop there. The feed transitions to humanitarian missions previously unpublicized. Rogue colony rescues, pirate suppression without casualties, surgical strikes against slavers operating under conquered protection, all done quietly, not for glory but because it was right. Kor speaks only once the footage ends. We didn't show you this to intimidate you. We showed you this because you need to understand what kind of war you were begging for. The silence is suffocating. Then she delivers Earth's proposal, a rewritten, conquered war charter. Not a demand, not an ultimatum. A choice. It includes strict protections for civilians, zero tolerance for coercion-based warfare, severe penalties for prolonging conflict for profit or pride, and a clause that allows humanitarian intervention if the conquered fails to act. The final line reads, "Peace is not the absence of war. It's the refusal to treat war like a game." Some delegates balk. Others quietly nod. And then, one by one, systems begin to agree, not out of fear, but respect. For the first time in centuries, war is no longer about who wins, but who prevents it from starting. Kor doesn't wait for applause. She stands, nods once, and leaves. Behind her, the galaxy begins to change. Despite the warnings, despite the footage, despite the rewritten charter, not everyone listens. The conquered ratifies the new war charter in record time, but cracks immediately appear. A few powerful factions, embarrassed by their defeat, bitter at their loss of dominance, refuse to sign. Chief among them is the Cyrex Dominion, humiliated by the Revenant and enraged by Earth's sudden elevation on the galactic stage. Behind closed doors, they rally a rogue alliance, fractured mercenary states, outlaw tech syndicates, and remnants of empires that once held sway. They name it the Iron Remnant, and their goal is simple: cripple the Terran fleet, burn the charter, and restore the old order. Their first move is brutal. In a sudden, coordinated assault, they strike a Terran civilian convoy delivering aid to neutral colonies. Over 4,000 civilians die. The attack is broadcast live, meant to prove that humanity bleeds like anyone else, that Earth can't protect its own. The galaxy recoils, the Concord panics, and Earth goes quiet. For 36 hours, no response comes, no threats, no statements. Then a signal appears on every public and encrypted channel, across all languages and systems. It's a live feed from a Terran command ship, Admiral Rael Norix appears on screen. His uniform is black, his face unreadable. Behind him, stars, and the faint silhouette of something massive shifting just out of focus. He speaks in a calm, even tone. "We tried to warn you. We tried to show you peace. But some of you only understand war. So now, you'll understand what it means when humanity stops holding back." The feed cuts to black. Within the hour, Earth activates the Aegis Protocol. For decades, humanity kept its most powerful weapons hidden, not because they feared discovery, but because they feared themselves. The Revenant and the Peregrine were not their best. They were proof of concept. Now the real fleet emerges from the shadows. The Aegis Armada, led by the dreadnought HSS Vindicator, enters the contested sector where the Iron Remnant's forces are gathered. No negotiation, no theatrics. They issue a single command: surrender your weapons, release the prisoners, or be removed. The Remnant refuses, and then the Vindicator acts. The battle lasts 7 minutes. Not a single human ship is lost. The Remnant is dismantled not just militarily but structurally. Their command networks are erased. Their fleet AI cores disabled remotely. Their fuel lines detonated without firing a single missile. It is not war. It is a lesson. When it's over, Terran Marines land, not as conquerors, but as medics, engineers, and defenders. They save the very prisoners the Remnant used as shields. They help civilians from broken Remnant worlds find food, shelter, and safety. And across the stars, billions watch in stunned silence as a simple message appears on the screen. We do not rule. We protect. We do not conquer. We end wars. Clear. Galaxy finally understands. Earth didn't rise to power through ambition. It was provoked. Again. And again. Until they had no choice. Now, the galaxy listens. Because now, they believe. Humanity's greatest threat was never their weapons. It was their restraint. And now that restraint is gone.